The Nerd Chat, an Xbox podcast.
Is a podcast celebrating all things gaming, food, and the good old days. Hosted by three BFFs, Daddy Diwali, Chipotle Bear, and Bubble Boy and Seven.
And new intern, X-Bacon Gamin'.
This is Cortana. And remember, don't make a girl a promise if you know you can't keep it. As always, Spartans, see you online.
Oh, hello. Daddy Diwali here, and welcome to The Nerd Chat, an Xbox podcast celebrating all things gaming, food, and the good old days. Joining me, as always, is he's still hanging on, folks, the co-host, the official new co-host of the show, Chipotle Bear, Jose Martinez. How are you?
I'm all right, man. I'll be honest with you. I came home today, and I don't have a lot of super bad days at school, but man, it was just a rough one today. Everyone's ready for spring break. People making poor choices, but it's okay, man. Honestly, I've been really having a great time in the gaming world on the Twitter space. I know Twitter streets can be real mean, but they've been real kind to me. So, doing great, man. Happy to be here to talk about all things gaming, food, in the good old days. But thanks.
And joining us, as always, is the intern to the co-host, X-Bacon Gamin'. How are you?
Well, other than this little spit of snow we had today, I'm heading to Arizona to get some golf in next week and pretty damn excited. Yes, sir.
And before we get started, guys, I just wanted to point out I was opening this earlier. You might have heard me. I'm going to be chowing on the greatest snack ever this time of year. Yes, of course. I'm talking about everybody's favorite good old Peeps, you guys. I cannot wait to dig into these as we're recording tonight. So shout out to Peeps and all the Peeps lovers out there. Let's jump into some huge TNC shout outs, Jose. First shout out, we got a few more followers, guys. We are so close. I can taste it.
So
it's probably going to time up perfectly. We have, I think, 97 subs on YouTube, and I just wanted to shout out Ethan W for following us, and Madaref006 on YouTube for subscribing to the channel. We are so close to that 100. I hope we hit it before episode 100. So thank you so much to all of our new subscribers. And also, I wanted to shout out a couple of controversial, again, Jose's video, just bringing out the best and the worst from us about this collector's edition. So the first one here comes from Jacoby Wright 1260. Oh, wait, sorry, that's a different one. Sorry. This is from Rob Morris 4056. And this was on, again, Jose's collector's edition from Limited Run, the Dead Space helmet. I burst out laughing when I saw the helmet. They royally screwed you over. That has to be the cheapest plastic injected molded crap I've ever seen. At least the Doom Eternal version collector's edition costs $75 less. So, Jose, do you have anything to say to Rob Morris and his disgust over your helmet back there?
So I actually responded to Rob today. Honestly, what I told him was, I'm really sorry that he didn't like it as much as I did. I'm very happy with it. I was not expecting a metal helmet. I mean, don't get me wrong. That would have been incredible if it was like actually a copper helmet, but there was no way that was going to happen. I was expecting something plastic, but I still think it's great. I also did tell him, thank you for listening. Like I said, I'm not mad that he wrote the comment. Like, everyone's entitled to their opinion. I'm grateful that he actually watched the video. And so, I didn't know about the Doom one. Honestly, it made me kind of want to check it out. I definitely loved the Doom games. I think it'd be cool to have the Doom Slayer's helmet there too. So I might look into that. So I really do appreciate you listening, Rob. I appreciate your feedback, man. And if you ever come across any great sets, let us know. We're always down to check them out, man.
I think the helmet looks great. I mean, I didn't notice anything when you were unboxing it. So did you check out the Doom Eternal one, Jose? Did you happen to look at that or see that one?
I did not. I mean, I didn't have time today. I just happened to catch that comment earlier when I got home and I had like 5 minutes to chill out. So I responded kindly. And I'll check it out though. I mean, I probably am not going to pick it up at this point. I mean,
that would be cool. You'd have the trifecta.
It would be nice to have them all behind me. Like that's like, I think, cool. dream job. Thank you,
Oh,
Nell, for liking my helmet. I appreciate that. But otherwise, man, it's great, man. Again, I just appreciate the listens. I agree with you, Dan. It's exciting that we're getting close to 100 and excited for that to grow more.
very quickly, I just realized I sent a call out to our friends to support us and watch the episode. And they have all just looked at me with disgust and told me I'm an idiot because I forgot the
Games are on
college
tonight.
basketball
Yeah.
championship, the Final Four tournament is on right now. And it's just starting this week. We've already had upset mania. And you know what? I take offense to this. Snelling said, "Do I even like basketball?" I play basketball more than anybody in here. They have all of you guys combined. Snelling, I love basketball. Basketball is my life. Okay, I'm a baller. But just because I don't have time to watch every single
I'm a
game
baller.
doesn't mean I don't love basketball. So screw off, Snelling. You can just whatever.
Thanks,
I
Goose.
hate
Goose showed up. Goose is right here, man. He showed
Goose, thanks.
Goose.
Reliable Goose. Thank you, Goose. God, you remember- Goose knows I'm a baller. Snelling, when you can dunk 2 hands, 2 feet at age 38, yeah, come talk to me. Anyways, guys, let's move on to the next shout out here. Shout out to Goose, by the way. Thank you so much, Goose. We're going to talk here about the importance of Xbox in just a second. The last shout out I wanted to give was on our Goose's favorite show, The Last of Us TV show on HBO, our spoiler cast, where we discussed. I asked everyone, is Joel the villain? And we had a comment from Jacoby Wright over there. Sorry, 1260. I mentioned his name earlier. If you murder people to save someone else, you are a villain. It wasn't his choice. He lied to protect himself after. Bad guy. There you have it. According to the YouTube comments, Joel is the bad guy. Yes, we could debate this forever on whether or not he is a good or bad guy or what we would do in the same situation, but I stand by what I said. I would have more empathy again if it was his own daughter, but we can talk about that later. Thank you so much to all of our new subs. Thank you to Goose for being here, even though he hates the Last of Us. And Goose said, "Utilitarianism is good, greater good for the greater number."
spoken like a true coach, man.
Thank you, Goose.
That's deep.
Gu-
Deep.
Guys, let's jump into some Xbox news for the week. And so this week, guys, I wanted to start with something more positive. I had come across this tweet while I was just being like bacon, checking out those Twitter streets, and I couldn't help but have a positive reaction to this because I think he originally was talking about again. I really don't want to talk about the Activision Blizzard King acquisition. I'm so tired of it, by the way. But I did want to talk about some of these points that Derek Strickland on Twitter wrote on here, and I have to shout this out because I know we've kind of discussed this, but he writes it so well here and such great points that we forget how important Microsoft and Xbox has been to gaming ever since they decided to jump in famously back in what was that 2001, correct? And so I want to celebrate Xbox here a little bit. I know everyone's so tired of the Activision Blizzard King Xbox versus Sony. Xbox is always in third place. Sony's always the greatest. Nintendo, blah blah blah. I want to celebrate Xbox, and I thought these points were so interesting. So here we go. This is the first story we're going to talk about, and this is a thread. Sorry, were you going to say something, Bacon? I'm going to read
No.
here. Okay. This is coming again, like I said, from Derek Strickland. He is Tweaktown's PR gaming editor, news analysis, and games industry finance. And I just wanted to take these kind of like point by point and discuss them. So here we go. And I'd like to expand on some points regarding the Microsoft and Xbox business. We don't know what Microsoft is planning next. They've hinted at what could happen, but we probably won't even ever know. Regulators, on the other hand, probably have access to this information. History has proven that no one should ever underestimate Microsoft. Their Xbox strategies have led significant disruption and innovation in the video games industry in terms of both technology and business models. Microsoft understands that it can't compete with PlayStation and Nintendo in the console hardware space. That's why it changed the playing field using its core strength: Windows, services, infrastructure, etc. Now, Xbox is much, much less reliable on hardware sales. Does anyone want, like, whenever I get to a point, does anyone, yeah, just let me know and just jump right in. And because I kind of wanted to talk to him by point. So go
Yeah.
ahead, Jose.
So
What did you think of that?
I mean, I've read a lot of this. I'm excited to talk about a lot about Derek said, but I have to disagree a tiny bit about the hardware thing. I do agree that they probably will never compete at the volume level of the hardware sales, but in terms of the actual hardware itself, I think is very competitive. I would argue with this most recent generation, it's if not an equal competitor, maybe a slight edge on the PlayStation, at least some areas, not all areas, right? But I don't think that it's a function of them not having the same hardware. And I admit to this because you brought this up since they started in 2001. At the time in 2001, I was a huge PlayStation gamer, right? And I remember my mom, shout out to my mom, was like, "Hey,
Shout
we're
out.
gonna get this. I'm gonna get you this Xbox machine from Microsoft." I was like, "Mom,
What?
no one wants this from
That
Microsoft.
sucks.
They're a computer company. That's like PlayStation." And I loved it, right? And I think beautifully thinking back historically, what it has become over time, right? Like that, I really would disagree that they have put a lot of time into making hardware that competes. And while
Yeah.
I agree that over time it's probably going to go away, I agree it will in most places. I think that they've done a great job competing. That's all the point that I wanted to
Yeah,
make.
and I completely agree, and I think he does mean hardware sales. I don't think he's talking about the physical hardware, and I would argue that they've done a great job. Xbox, the first OG Xbox, that was way OP and underutilized in some instances, and then the part where they took a step back was definitely the X1. That was a mistake with the Kinect and limiting some of the power with that. So, Bacon, any quick reaction to this, or should I move on?
If they were overly concerned about hardware sales, selling the Xboxes, they never would have opened it up to PC. People that want to play
That's a good
Starfield
point.
can play it on PC if they want. If they
Yeah,
wanted their singular focus, like
good
Sony,
point.
of selling nothing but hardware, they wouldn't have opened everything up for everybody else. So that's they're
Yeah,
okay with it. They want to sell the Game Pass, so they
and
want the
and
reoccurring revenue.
And taking it even further, not only do they have all of their first party games available on PC, they also have it available on Steam. They also have it on other,
Yeah.
probably, do they have it on Epic? I don't know if they have it on Epic,
No.
but other, so it's just Steam and the Microsoft Store.
I'm sure Epic will be coming before the
Yeah,
25th
yeah.
of next month,
Okay.
but yes.
Moving on, Microsoft tells regulators that it's third place in the console sales market. That sounds bad on paper, but it matters a lot less because of Microsoft's differentiated service oriented business model. Microsoft adapted to its situation by rewriting the playbook. Um, I don't, well, he has there's a graphic here, an install base, and looks like from November 2013. Oh, so right when the Xbox One, PS4 launched. There's 151.4 million PlayStation consoles, and this is through December 2021. 103.5 Switches, and then only 67 or 63.7 million Xboxes. So I mean, dang, that is almost exactly 2 to 1, and they're very far behind Nintendo. But keep that in mind. In order to compete and stay profitable, Microsoft basically molded Xbox around its biggest strengths, including infrastructure, technology, and services. This not only helped Xbox break through the walled garden model, but to redefine the industry in the process. The reality is that Microsoft has always been disrupting and innovating the games industry. Xbox Live was arguably the most important development of the original Big Three era and reshaped console gaming. Online multiplayer was and is transformative. And I'm just going to read the rest on Xbox Live, then we can talk about this. Xbox Live carried Microsoft's penchant for services into the video game world. Tying that service to a monthly subscription fee was a big deal. It still is. Xbox Live is the backbone of Microsoft's gaming infrastructure, and this is a very important disruption point. Guys, I'm not gonna lie, Xbox Live and the performance of the original Xbox was the reason I switched from being a diehard PlayStation fan with my PS2, sold my PS2, and bought an Xbox. In addition to Halo, because I'd played that a little bit before. But I will never forget being in college. If it was freshman year, oh my god, no, sophomore year, no, freshman year, and I was playing Ghost Recon, the first Ghost Recon, where it was just like a little, aiming reticle in the middle of the screen. No, you don't even see anybody, your guns or anything like that. And I was like, wait a second, you can play this online on Xbox Live. I had heard about it. And then I remember I saw it somewhere and I was like, the graphics are so much better. And then that was it. being able to play online changed my life. Xbox Live, I don't think people realize how big of a deal that was. So, guys, any reaction to Xbox Live? I know we've talked about Halo and stuff like that, but I don't think Xbox gets enough credit for, first of all, basically starting in online multiplayer on the original Xbox, which is crazy because PlayStation 2 was so far behind. I remember you to buy the adapter and it was just still janky as all can be. So, Bacon, go ahead. Talk to me about how you remember online gaming. Because were you
Did
PC gaming at the time or no?
no, but didn't Xbox Live come on a disc with a headset and all that? You could buy like a
Yeah, it
pack
was
that
like an
would
Dude,
go
install
on
the
that you
there.
had to
headset was like
have.
this, you guys. It was like it would go this way and it like
Yes, it
rested
was
on
so
your ears.
bad.
That's the only way they could run in the 90s, bud. They were behind your head. That's just how it works.
It was pretty
Right.
cool. I'm not gonna lie.
And when you think about it, how forward thinking they were and starting the whole trend of online and lobbies and talking and smack talking that gave birth to the Call of Duty
I
lobbies
know.
and the toxicity that came along with
Did
it.
they have parties early on? I can't remember if that
And
came
No, it was
later,
just
right?
pure like because you'd be in
Yeah,
lobbies and
you're
you
right.
hear
It
you
was
people
it
couldn't
had
mute
to
blaring
be.
anybody.
Yeah,
music and
yeah.
stuff.
Everybody
Yeah.
was just it was terrible, but it was awesome at the same time. So if they wouldn't have popularized it, I'm sure someone would have eventually. But again, Microsoft's usually at the forefront of the leading edge of every change. When you think about DRM and stuff that they launched with the Xbox One, something we all deal with now, but Microsoft was just too darn
Just
early with that, which caused that launch of the Xbox One versus the PS4 to be such a kerfuffle. But I think they got their stuff in line right now, so we'll see. But I loved the early days of Xbox Live.
yeah. And just think about that, Jose, that just like he mentioned in there, like that was like a monthly thing you had to pay for. And then what did Sony do? Sure enough, because I don't think they charged for online at first on PlayStation, and then they eventually did start to charge it, and then it became PS Plus. So talk to me a little bit about the online infrastructure, Jose.
Here's what I would say is I actually didn't have live at first when it first came out because I thought it was too expensive at the time. And to be fair, remember that the gaming the landscape of gaming, there just weren't a ton of games that were really utilizing that live feature. It was very cool, and they had built out all these like social elements of the 360 where like you could join basically the equivalent of a chat room like a la AOL back in the 90s, right? And you could just like get to know people. But the truth was like it was just a little ahead of its time. And then it really kind of the thing that launched it truly was like Halo, right? Because once you start getting into that Halo realm of like, oh my God, we can be matchmaking across the country
Clans and
with my
stuff,
friends, and you build clans
tournaments.
and we build like our like, dude, it exploded. And what's crazy now is like try telling a kid in today's world like there was a time when you couldn't talk to your friends online playing games. They're like, why would you even play that game? That sounds stupid to me. Like I can't even imagine that world, right? And I agree 100%. Like half of the games that I play even today I play with my friends. You know what I'm saying? Because it's just a way to socialize. And it's interesting culturally. I'm not going to get on a crazy soapbox here, but like as grown men, right? Would I see all of my friends or talk to them as much if I didn't have Xbox? Probably not. Right. And not because I don't care about them, right? Like I care about them greatly. It's just a function of everyday life with families and work and location, geography, like just doesn't make it possible. But the fact that like on any given night you pop on and like, oh, Bagoose is on, cool, let's jump into Halo. Oh, Snelling's on, let's get into Battlefield. Oh, Bacon's on, let's get into Warfare. Like that is an incredible feat that really stemmed from this kind of stuff. And so you do really have to give it to him because the other side of this
Yeah,
on the
they
on the
did it first. Sorry.
on the no, you're fine. On the infrastructure side, um, is that there was server space was like at a premium at this time, right? So like for them to be
Ooh,
able to pull this off, I don't know if they could have done it if they weren't a company like Microsoft that had all
yeah,
of that at
good
their
point.
hands.
That's probably
Uh,
why I didn't do it. We got a lot of chat on here. So do you want to go back and read some? So wait, so Goose said, bring back the Duke. And Goose said hashtag no Red Wing yet. We don't need to talk about the Red Wing of death. Deja Vu's listen at work. Shout out to Deja Vu. And Goose said, bringing back memories with the headset and the
it was
disc.
great, bud.
What's up, B? Good to see you as well. Goose also said he gambled a lot of money on Halo in college dorm rooms.
Ooh, I'd like to hear about
Incredible.
that. Still good stories right there.
So good. So I want to also bring up, you tie it all together really well, Jose, about how we use Xbox basically to keep in touch and hang out with each other. It is a huge social aspect of our it is my only I'm gonna be honest, that's my social aspect with you guys. Like when I go to like these neighborhood parties and everything, and I'm like, yeah, I'll talk to you a little bit, have a little bit of small talk, but I'm not into it, like when I'm in a COD lobby or playing Halo with the boys. But I want to say what's we did fortunately grow up at a time when Facebook launched when we were in college. And I
Yep.
remember
I'll
CU was
never forget it,
early. I
bud.
remember
I'll
that was
never
like,
forget it,
dude,
bud.
that was a big deal. I remember I was like, I can look at other people's walls and like I can see other girls that go here. It was like incredible. It's just so revolutionary at the time. But we also had Xbox Live parties and stuff being developed around the 360 era. And I would argue that that's why I think gamers in general or us might have been a little bit more prepared and more adapted to when the pandemic hit. Like because we were kind of still using that as
Mhm.
our social outlet, and that kind of prepared us to be ready for being in lockdown and not be able to see people in person. And then the whole world adapted, and then now everyone's about Zoom and all these
Mhm. I
hybrid
mean,
work
gaming
situations.
sales went through the roof in the pandemic
Crazy.
because people
Yeah.
were like, "I need something to do," 1, and 2, it is a way to connect with people and form relationships. So, like, yeah, man,
Yeah,
100%.
and think about it. Microsoft did it first. Like, that's crazy, crazy. Go ahead, Bacon, before I move on.
So, speaking of gaming, keeping us all together, one, I never would have met you two fine gentlemen if it wasn't for
It's
gaming.
true.
And also, my wife, I was raised not being a big family guy. I'd go a year without talking to my mom, my brother, my military years. I probably didn't speak to him for 5 years because if I don't have anything to say, um, I'm not just going to call my brother and talk. But my wife always says that that's one of the reasons why she never busts my chops for my gaming is because there's days now when me and my brother will just sit on Discord while we're playing different games or playing the
Mhm.
same game, and we'll just talk and just stay in contact with each other. So gaming as a whole actually does keep me social, and it's probably one of my favorite parts about gaming, to be
Yeah,
honest.
B
So
B just said that we gotta ask about Division back in the day between you and him, and, like, hours I'm
Gosh,
sure
that
you
game,
pumped
I
in.
remember I was
When
so
it was
excited
great
for
when it
that
came
game.
out, man.
Let's get
Great.
back on Division 2, you guys. Let's do it after this. Closing up on the whole online thing, I just want to say that yeah, you're absolutely right, Bacon. I'm just like you. Like I don't really talk to my family as much as I probably should because I just don't have much to say. It's like, what's going on? The up, same old stuff, different day. I'm just, but gaming has always provided an outlet for me, and I'm take it for granted. And it's crazy to think that really it did start. That was the beginning of it back in 2001. So let's go back to Strickland's thread here. Again, moving perfectly. We just talked about the original Xbox. Now we're talking about the 360. The Xbox 360 era brought the second major development, a widespread online storefront. Were they the first to do this too? Because, or
I
did
don't know.
PlayStation have it?
Probably. I mean, they're definitely up there.
Digital commerce was born on the it was born on the Xbox console platform. This storefront helped facilitate one of the most important developments console gaming has ever seen. For better or worse, microtransactions, the good old horse DLC for Skyrim, or was that Oblivion? It was Skyrim. Xbox One was the most transformative era for Microsoft's game division. A disastrous PR created a sink or swim scenario for Microsoft. Instead of swimming in the market that it helped create vis-a-vis the importance of hardware sales, the Xbox 360 conquered PS3 for the most part. Microsoft jumped out of the pool. Microsoft had a plan. The company had already entered and then dominated the games industry through disruption and innovation. Could they do it again? Maybe. Microsoft laid out the framework for a plan that could allow Xbox to survive and evolve many years down the line. Am I good to go, guys? I keep
Yeah,
reading
yeah,
it.
keep going.
Okay.
You're good, man.
The first step, something no one had ever done, but the first step was something no one had ever done before. Microsoft wanted to unify consoles and PCs together using a common operating system. Two platforms, one operating system. They did it. Windows 10 connected consoles and PCs together for better interoperability. I've never said that word before in my life. I'm proud
you
I
did
said it.
well. Good job.
The plan was maturing. Microsoft already had the Xbox Live network and bustling digital online storefront that sold games and other entertainment. Now they successfully unified consoles and PCs together. It was about this time that Microsoft brought more Xbox games to PC. As Sony doubled down on PS4's walled garden, Microsoft expanded outside of consoles. Initiatives like Play Anywhere. I love Play Anywhere, you guys. I love being able to play anywhere from my Skyrim save, or I guess I can't do it with Skyrim, but Wolong on my PC, then back to my Xbox to the cloud, or buy one game and play it on both Xbox and PC were born. This was more emphasis on crossplay as Microsoft expanded its content store, and services. So any reactions to that, guys, or should we keep going?
I,
Uh, keep going.
I,
We'll
I
put it
think they
together.
had to, to be honest,
Yeah,
they had to
that's a good point.
expand and go into PC. If their console sales were doing so
Yeah.
great, they wouldn't have had to have done it. So everything Microsoft has done, their hand has been forced by being dominated by Sony and Nintendo. So, good on us, good on a PC gamer who enjoys PC and console. So I'm happy no matter what. And innovation comes from getting your tail kicked in. So
Yep, absolutely. Xbox One was still compete, was it? But it didn't sell as many consoles as the PS4, but it was not down and out. Microsoft's plan was working, and more Xbox games came to PC. The time was almost right for the most disruptive maneuver of games the games market had seen for a long time. Having already made significant developments in online gaming, digital storefronts, cross platform unification, Microsoft once again disrupted the industry with Xbox Game Pass. It was a game changer and still is. Game Pass helped reinvigorate the Xbox business. Revenues were up. A new subscription service was born that tied directly into the digital first ecosystem of game sales, monetization, online multiplayer. It was an offshoot at first, but quickly became the core of Xbox business. Guys, let's talk a little bit about Game Pass. I remember when Game Pass launched in 2017, I was like, what's the point of this? I was like, I have no desire to be into Game Pass. And I remember it was like, wasn't it like 15 or 20 games? It wasn't much.
Yeah, it
And
wasn't huge.
I was like, why would I ever want to do that? No, I'm good. I'll stick with playing my games. But then it all changed with Sea of Thieves because Sea of Thieves was coming out like a full price game. And that's back then, I think it was around the same price for Game Pass. And I was like, well, instead of buying the game, I'm just going to buy Game Pass, and I've been subbed ever since. And the value to me has just skyrocketed ever since then. As
Mhm.
soon as they said first party games, every first party like Forza, I remember Forza Horizon being in there was a big deal for me. And then obviously the next Gear saved me some money. Such a big deal. And now I can't imagine, guys, I can't imagine not having Game Pass, to be honest. It's crazy how much my perspective changed on it. So Jose, any thoughts to the Game Pass model?
Yeah, so I mean, this is actually hitting on a couple of things that we talked about, all pulling it into one. So a true story. I don't even know if I told you this ever, Dan. I've told you pieces of it. So I mentioned on the show before when I got married to Victoria in 2013, my groomsmen gift was an Xbox One. Right, that was the gift that they all pulled together and gave me, and it was honestly they did a great job. It was a huge surprise. I had no idea it was coming, and what's crazy about this is the part I've never told Dan is I was almost about to kind of quit gaming. Not because I was hated it or fed up with it or anything like that, but it was like, okay, I'm getting married and we're buying our first house. And like, I really enjoyed like the 360 era, but like that was when I was living with Chance and I was gaming with like on Battlefield
You guys had the dual screens next
with
to
the
each
dual screens, and
other.
I just was it was almost one of those
Single.
like the classic I grew up to be a man and I put away childish things. Like I wasn't forced to it. It wasn't a Victoria thing. It was just more of a like I kind of feel like I got to give something up, and that might be the thing that's going to go. Um, and so when I got that, I genuinely just felt this like my friends understand me, right? Because they really did. And even Victoria, the love of my life, in our vows, she wrote, I will welcome any Xbox into our home for our entire marriage, right? So I knew it was the green light. And I remember as we moved into our new home and I got it set up, I'll never forget like when Destiny came out that first weekend, I was so pumped to play Destiny on Xbox One. And I realized in hindsight so much of the gimmicks that came out with the one that like just didn't pan out. But I have to give them
Dude,
credit
we
that
were all about let's Skype,
let's try to Skype it.
let's
Everyone
use
was
the
talking about
voice
let's Skype
commands.
naked. I don't know why that was a thing, but it was
Skype
a thing.
naked. I love that.
And I mean, I played like Black Flag on it, which was amazing, incredible game. Like it really reinvigorated me. And I think about where I am now, literally 10 years later, how much I credit to that purchase from my friends. So even though the Xbox One, from a hardware standpoint, from a launch standpoint,
Special place in your heart, huh,
it has a
Jose?
special place in my heart. It really does. And that led into Game Pass. And you're absolutely right, Dan, that it was kind of a little bit of a joke at first, right? Where people were like, "Why would I pay $15 for these kind of like janky
And it
games that
wasn't
like?"
even that much. It was 10 at first,
But
like
here's
forever.
what's crazy. The way that I explain it to everyone is it's exactly like Netflix, right? Like when we were in college and Netflix was trying to get off the ground and they were still doing the DVDs, how many of those things did you get in the mail that you just threw away that were like 1 month free and 1 month free? Like I had to do a friend in college who literally he signed up like 20 months in a row using different emails and he would just have it for free forever. And everybody made fun of him, But look what Netflix turned into, right? And I have to give the credit to whoever it was, whether it was Papa Phil or someone else in there that we just don't know their name, who said, "What if we were able to do this for games?" And I'm sure at first it was kind of a laughable, like, "There's no way, dude. It's not like a movie. There are much bigger files, and there's a lot of server stuff you have to consider. Like, you're just crazy out there." But someone out there was smart enough to say, "Nope, we can do this." And look what it's become today. I mean, arguably, it's the reason why all the ABK stuff is such controversial, right? Like, if it wasn't something where they could just put this immediately about available to all of their group, like, it's just I don't know what it would be without that today, right? So I have a huge place in my heart for Game Pass now that they're bringing the family stuff eventually. Like, they're all in, man, and I'm really here for it. And a lot of people have asked me, don't you feel stupid when you have months where you paid for it and you didn't even play a Game Pass game because you're playing, like when I play Resident Evil 4? And the
Yeah.
truth is no, because the other part you have to remember with playing is, like, when I was before this, and part of the reason I was going to fall off when
I was poor.
when I was poor was that to really choose between a game that was either 50, 60 back at that point, so I can play with my friends, I didn't feel like I could do that. I didn't want to cut you off, but good to see you. Thank you for joining us, man. We'll see you next week.
Yes, sir, buddy.
But just I had to make that choice. And now with Game Pass, it's such a small part of my income that it's built in. And I know that I always have something to play. Right. And especially with all the work they've been doing right now to get stuff on the service, like, man, Wolong is dope. I mean, Hi-Fi Rush was amazing. Like,
Yeah.
it's just incredible the stuff that
Dude.
they're putting out.
Already this year, it's Jose. The value is crazy. Jose, sorry, you froze up there for a second.
You
I did want
froze
to shout out. Sorry, B. We'll catch you next time. Goose. Speaking of getting Jose his Xbox, he said Diwali took me to GameStop to get my Xbox One Followed Edition. Don't you still have that, Goose? I'm pretty sure you still do. Incredible. I know I just got here, but is everyone Xbox or PlayStation? What does he mean by that? Be like, what do we play?
Oh, he's just wondering if anyone watching, and that he's trying to drive
Oh,
chat.
Yeah. Thanks, B.
Thanks, B. And then Bacon, he's in the chat right now. He said Wally is starting to be PC, and Deja Vu is also PC, but Xbox is PC, and PC is Xbox. That's right. I love it. So Bacon, really quick, what was your experience with the Game Pass? Because we didn't really talk about what you thought about it at first.
No, I can't remember what game drove me, or what. It might have just been a lull or boring time that in 2017 or 2018. I can't remember right when I started. It wasn't right away, and I had 8 months left on my Xbox Live, and I saw the advertisement on the home screen. I'm like, for $1, okay. I'm like, I'll just ride this out for 8 months, and I have been a full price paying person since that 8 month expired. $15 a month for PC, streaming, cloud, console, cross save, cross progression, cross everything for $15 a month. It's just been a no brainer for me. And yeah, there are a couple months when I don't use it, when I'm playing something else, but for the most part, I can't think of any month where I haven't found something in Game Pass. My gamer score has gone from 22,000 to I'm about to cross 60,000 in this short time. So I love it, and I cannot wait for the family plan, because I might even, pay a full pot for myself and maybe get my brother on it, so he's not going to have to pay, and just link up with some other people, just because it would be worth it for me for $40 or $35 a month still. So it's just a fantastic service. It gives spotlights to lesser known games, to indies, to people who want to, their games to be seen that don't get seen on other platforms. So all in all, it's a win-win for everyone in the industry, I think. So that's
Absolutely, Bacon. So I wanted to say, also tying into the Game Pass numbers, this is really interesting. This quarterly revenues, I don't know if you guys see this on the tweet. So when the Xbox One launched, $8.64 billion in revenue, 9 point, or what is that? Is that right? No, that's got to be more than that. What is that? 8.64 billions? How much is that, Jose? In billions?
I don't know. I don't have the scale of this.
Well,
thing,
anyway,
sorry.
so yeah,
Oh, it's
I
in
don't know
billions.
what
It says
is
in
it,
billions. Sorry, 8.6 billion. Yeah, yeah.
So it is okay. So it goes from basically they're sitting around 8 to 9 billion up until 2017 fiscal year. Then Game Pass comes out. You see an increase to 10. Then 2019 it goes up to 11.4. Then during the right before the pandemic, or during the pandemic, 11.5. Then skyrockets the Xbox One Series launch. We're at 11.5. It goes up to 15.3, and then 2022 is looking at 16.9. So that is pretty crazy. That is basically doubled since it basically launched almost. So Game Pass definitely is growing. It is a big factor for their revenue. Before Game Pass, Microsoft management had started to talk about an Xbox flywheel with Xbox Live at the center of everything. This was an early flywheel from when Beam was still a thing. Bacon, by the way, I remember when it was Beam and then they had to change their name to Mixer. So
Yep.
Beam was a way better name. I got to say, I wish they could have stuck with that. So looking at this chart, it's those devices goes to content like your Halo, your Minecraft. Then it goes into your social network with Beam and your avatars. Then it creates loyalty in this, and we're about halfway through the circle. Then you have the commerce, the microtransactions, and the buying games with Game Pass, Call of Duty, FIFA, and then it goes back into the beginning of the circle into devices in contact with the Xbox One, Project Scorpio, so the Xbox One X, Windows, and they also have Apple and Android on there. So it's very cool to see some of the behind the scenes here. And then the flywheel was adjusted, and it became clear that Game Pass was the center of its business. Game Pass was and is an evolution of everything that Microsoft has done so far with gaming. And see, in the middle, it says, "You are the center of gaming. Game anytime, anywhere with anyone. Play on PC." To optimize or customize your experience, play on the Series S, next gen at an affordable price. Play over 100 games on Game Pass. Play on the Series X, the most powerful console. Play anywhere with cloud. The Xbox One era also introduced another major significant disruptor, Project xCloud. Game streaming wasn't new at the time. What was new is the incredible value that Microsoft offered. xCloud matured, taking cues from its competitors' success, PlayStation Now, and failures, Google Stadia. Microsoft's true ambitions became clear. It just wasn't about consoles and PC. Microsoft wanted to bring Xbox to every platform. Xbox Game Pass and the cloud streaming transformed Xbox into a service. Just got to shout out Bubble Boy. Bubble Boy's been doing work on that cloud streaming. I can't
Yeah,
get
he
him
has,
off
dude.
of
He's a
Microsoft
beast.
Solitaire and Merge and Blade or whatever game else he's playing on there. So he's a fan of the cloud streaming. Aggressive value helped spark adoption with access to some 400 PC console games. Game Pass became impossible to ignore. Microsoft bought up more studios and promised to introduce their games day one on Game Pass, offering significantly cheaper access to big new games. They also introduced a new pricing tier that packed in game streaming. Suddenly, Game Pass was so powerful that it could outright replace game sales. It's entirely reasonable to simply rely on Game Pass instead of buying Xbox games. Microsoft Microsoft disrupted its own business model too, and that brings us to present day. Xbox Game Pass is the best deal in gaming. Microsoft has delivered high-end consoles with the Series S and at a low cost, albeit digital-only Series S, and the merger represents another potential watershed moment for Xbox. Activision Blizzard King's content is so powerful that it could be the catalyst for Microsoft's next major disruption of the video games industry. Microsoft's previous innovations had all affected the big three. Now Microsoft is setting its sight on Google and Apple. I don't think we need to keep going with this one. That's kind of where I wanted to stop there. And we're basically at the end. So, guys, closing thoughts on the growth of Game Pass and its importance. And now we see why Microsoft wants the Activision Blizzard King. And this is kind of what I argued in episode 0 of Xbox Record This. Go back and listen.
Solo
So, guys,
cast.
I
Solo.
said, is Xbox the next Netflix for better or worse? I talked about how important content was back then. And I'm standing here saying it now. Now you've seen them buy Bethesda. Now you see them buying ABK. This is why you need to have content to feed it, or you're going to become like Netflix as they were. It's like, what do we really watch on there anymore? Not much, because all their stuff went on to their own streaming services. This is why this deal could be so important for Microsoft. So, Bacon, give me your closing thoughts on this thread.
Oh, this was really well done by Derek. I wish I'd have seen it on my own, but good eyes on catching it. It's Microsoft. I always want to root for the home team, the USA. Go USA. So I've always been on Microsoft's side and in their corner. Halo really did that for me, and that was so transformative in my early military days. And just seeing what Game Pass can do for everything, the viral marketing and all of us having an opportunity to play games at a very low cost. There's just I don't see a downside in it. Yes, they're getting less sales, less physical sales. They're still getting a lot of sales on Steam and still on the Xbox platform because there's just people that don't want another subscription. Um, I remember when I did sign up and for the dollar deal, I'm like, do I really want another subscription in my life? After Netflix and everything else. So this one has just been the easy no brainer for me since my dollar deal had expired, and because gaming is next to golf is my favorite thing on the planet to do. So I just waste away for 8 to 10 hours a day on my days off while the wife's working, and I have a blast with myself talking to people and not talking to people. Just so I I mean, the moon is the ceiling for this thing. It can really go places, and um, they're given access to everybody in the world right now in this ABK deal. And I got to give props to these regulators who are really forcing Microsoft hand to give more deals to everybody to expand where they're putting these games. Because if they would have just rolled over, maybe COD would be exclusive, and we it would not be a great place in gaming. So as much as I hate the regulators and all this stuff, they're probably actually doing it for the better for all of gaming. So
Uh, so speaking of getting your Game Pass, how you hesitated to almost buy it. So Goose said, "Let's talk about when the gift cards go on sale at Sam's or Costco and get 3 months for nothing." You're absolutely right. That's the other part of it, Goose. You're absolutely right. I stacked like 3 years of Game Pass because there was that crazy deal where if you stacked 3 years of Xbox Live for like $180 and then you did the convert for like $1, it changed everything to your Game Pass Ultimate sub. So guys, I've never once played full price for Game Pass the whole time I've had it, but I absolutely would from now on. And Bacon, I also like how you said you didn't want another subscription service, another sub to pay for. And I'm right there with you. And I find it so much easier for me personally to just stay on Game Pass because you're right. All the games I was going to be buying, Starfield, Redfall, Forza, that's $180. That's the cost for it. I've already gotten to enjoy Wolong and Hi-Fi Rush added that I didn't have to pay for, and we've already gone through that. But I have to say that it's way easier now for me to cancel subscription services for TV stuff because I don't feel like the content is there. Like, for example, I'm going to end my Last of Us, or sorry, my HBO Max subscription now because I just wanted The Last of Us. So it's easy for me to cancel that $15 a month. I already canceled. I would have canceled Netflix, but I get that for free through T-Mobile. So there's another one I don't pay for. And the only one I think is absolutely essential at this point in my life is Disney Plus. Only for the kids, really. That's it. And I do like some of the other stuff. So for me, I feel like you can save money on some of those TV services easily to make room for Game Pass. But you
and
want to say something?
one last thing, the money I save on Game Pass allows me to buy other things on PlayStation. I've never purchased as many
Exactly.
PlayStation games as I have in the last 2 years, and this new, Elite controller because the amount of money I save by not I'm buying games on even Xbox that I never would have thought
Yep.
of buying because I save so much money with Game Pass. So it really allows me to spend money and put money in Sony's pockets. So
Well, and Xbox, like you said, like
yeah.
I only buy games when they're on sale, and I buy so many games on Xbox that aren't on Game Pass when they go on sale. And we've discussed how I've saved money and how I bought Resident Evil, and I can't wait to play that full price because of the money I'm saving on Game Pass. So go ahead, Jose. Closing thoughts on the thread and Xbox's significance, importance in gaming, and how we really. I think everyone forgets how important Microsoft has been since they entered the console space.
Yeah, I don't have a lot to add. The one thing that I will say is going back to that conversation about when Netflix was kind of very young when I was in college. If you would have told people back then, hey, in 10 years, every TV that you buy is going to have a button that says Netflix on it, everyone would laugh in your face. They'd be like, that's ridiculous. That would never happen. Why would you want this stupid service? Why would I ever use that button? What a waste. And what I think about with that is when you tell people right now, in 10 years, every TV is going to have a button that says Xbox and it's going to take you to a screen and all you have to have is an Xbox controller and you'll be able to play every game on their service. People are going to be like, you're crazy. There's no way. There's too much data. That's too infrastructure. But mark my words, man. I mean, that is clearly the vision that we're seeing right now. And what I struggle with that personally is that I like playing on a console. I would prefer to pay for the hardware, right? I would prefer to get like if that's the route it goes, where eventually there's no Xbox, I probably will become a PC gamer, right? I'll have Bacon build me a rig, right? And we'll go that route because I just prefer that. And again, I'm fortunate enough that I have a job where I can afford that kind of thing, right? But at the same time, I know we have to get there. I know that's a process, and I just really applaud everything they're doing that they have done because you're right, Dan. They've really made a huge mark on this industry. But I also am excited to see everything that's going on. And I know that you are
I was
very
just
annoyed
gonna
by the ABK
let's just
stuff.
get this ABK stuff over and we
But
can
I
talk
think it's
about
fascinating, man.
something
And
cool.
I mean, here's the reality is like eventually, if and when ABK goes through, there'll always be something else like this. There's always that regulatory legal side of this that I do think is interesting about what passes and what doesn't pass and why it doesn't pass and stuff. So I don't know if that's a good segue for you, but overall, man, I do want to give a shout out to Derek Strickland again. Make sure you go check him out on Twitter, Deek Tweak. He's got some great content there.
Yeah, shout out. And I just adjusted my mic. I'm probably gonna be a lot better now. Dang it. Goose, shout out to Goose. He just said, Bacon, come out. I got a country club membership. We could just get on a cart and just get out. Go visit Goose,
Caddyshack 3,
play some
baby.
golf.
Right there.
Where's Goose living these days?
I don't even know, Goose. I don't where are you?
Goose, where you
Missouri?
Goose, what's the hometown?
Missouri? Tennessee? I can't remember. He's somewhere out there in
Midwest.
Tornado Alley.
somewhat
They
south.
got
I can't
good
remember.
food out there.
So shout out to Goose, guys. What a great topic. Video games, Xbox Live, Xbox in general, bringing us all together, making us better friends, giving us that social outlet. Xbox, you deserve more credit. We are always going to be big fans, especially, obviously, I mean, we have a podcast dedicated to you. So speaking of Xbox and all going to PC, boys, I am also going to have Bacon build me a PC. The old desktop right here, it's going back. I'm going to have Bacon build me the ultimate rig down the road. So we cannot wait. Let's jump into some news story number 2. And it kind of ties into another one with number 3. And just when we were having such a blast here, reminiscing and having such great vibes and thoughts on how Xbox is just been such a great, powerful, awesome force in gaming, we have to talk about the Activision Blizzard King freaking acquisition. I can't take this anymore. Tom Warren tweeted out I don't even care. It was March 15th. Microsoft has signed a 4th Call of Duty deal. Gosh, can we just stop talking about Call of Duty?
No.
This time it's with, I don't even know how to say this, Ubitus. Ubitus. I have no idea. A Taiwan-based cloud. Nobody knows what this is. Gaming provider that's helped get control in other games on the Nintendo Switch. Ubuntu will get Xbox PC games and Activision ones. I can't anymore. So Bacon, why don't you just go into your, this ties into your 6 saying everyone, yeah, we're good with this deal, and then of course Sony says I just can't. Jose Bacon, take it away. I can't.
So one of the things that's being overlooked on these smaller deals, the things that the CMA and the regulators are saying is that Microsoft can get too big as a streaming company and choke out the little guys, right? So with Microsoft giving access to these 2 companies they've signed up in the last week, that they're going to give these smaller streaming platforms a chance to grow. That it's going to allow them to have content that they would not have, and it's going to stop Microsoft becoming the snowball rolling down the hill, the behemoth that just collects everything.
That's not all content. Call of Duty.
Well, and then I'm sure they're going to allow whatever Xbox games they. But just saying,
it's again, this is all coming back to
that's the big concern that they've said is Microsoft's so ahead in the cloud industry that they choked out Google. If you can choke out Google, you can choke out anyone. Well, here they are. They're given access to all of, one of these places services 4 million gamers. Was a number I read the other day, and so you're giving them access and allowing them to not become this big behemoth. Microsoft is really trying to not be the bad guy in this situation. So if we can give deals to the little man, I don't see a loss in this. But you got anything on that, Chapo, before we move into this VGC article?
No, I agree with you 100%, Bacon, for the record, that I saw in one of the tweets somewhere that someone wrote as a comment, this is Microsoft playing 4D chess. in this Activision Blizzard deal, and I fully agree. Don't get me wrong. I fully see that this is a PR move, right? This is them saying, "You're saying I'm choking out little people. I just made a deal with 3 little people who are going to support my games." Now, I hear you also, Dan, that you say like, "Well, this is just for COD." Maybe, but there's no reason, right? And again, think globally. Think as Microsoft. If the best way to secure your company to make money and sell Game Pass subscriptions is to allow your stuff on every platform, why wouldn't you develop for every platform, right? Because the other part is that Microsoft has to think about profit and loss, right? In the sense that if they're going to be putting money into these companies and they're going to supposedly be giving them plenty of time to make games with no crunch, and they purse for quality over quantity, right? That costs money. That isn't for free. So if you can get it into as many markets as possible, even the little ones, that's a win for you. And here's the thing: I also saw a lot of comment people saying, "Well, no one wants to play Call of Duty on crappy hardware because it's a first person shooter game and you have to have twitch reflexes." Yes, there is a subsection of gaming that wants that, but there's also just people out there that also just want to play, right? And they don't have the hardware because of whatever their station is in life or where they're at in life or what country they're in. A great example, Dan, for you and I, is our students, right? The number of students that I have that play Fortnite, Call of Duty, Apex, anything they can on their phone, right? And don't get me wrong, phones are decently powerful nowadays, but it's never going to be as powerful as a console or a PC. And they play it all day. They don't care that it's laggy. They don't care that there's frame rate drops. They just want to play the game. And so Microsoft is playing the smart game here of like, cool, if we can buy this company relatively cheap and get the game there, let's do it. If we can go to this company that's going to port it to the Switch for us, let's do it, right? Like they're playing the bigger game here. And I agree with Bacon too. I do currently see them as more altruistic, that I think they just want to get games in the hands of people. I think they do, right? I think they're just doing what they have to prove that, so that all the arguments that are being presented against them for this deal are just going to melt away of like, well, you're claiming they don't want to share with anyone, but they just shared with like 17 other people. You know what I mean? Like that's what they're doing here. So Bacon, go ahead. That's what I wanted to say.
All over one game. No, I'll go into this next article, Bacon, then you can have the floor to talk about these responses. Okay. So the UK regulators post 6 studios' responses to the Microsoft Activision deal, all saying it should go ahead. None of the responses posted said that the deal should be blocked, except for one, which was Sony. We already know Sony does one. And this is coming from Chris Scullion over at VGC. And I just want to read some of the quotes here, Bacon, that I think you wanted to point out. So the first one is from one of the only named studio, 4J Studios, and they were a Scottish developer responsible for the console version of Minecraft. And they were in a unique position because they were independent before Microsoft acquired them to work on Minecraft. During that period, which lasted several years, Microsoft has honored every element of the agreements that they inherited and also extended our relationship significantly to cover new formats like the Nintendo Switch, as well as many other content enhancements. Another studio, the second studio, which remained anonymous, said, "We believe that consumers' taste and preferences in the video game space cut across a broad array of games and a wide variety of genre and platforms. As such, we do not believe that any title can be considered a must have in the interactive entertainment market." Thank you. Not one game should dictate everything. In the context of this dynamic and considering Microsoft's stated commitment to make certain games available on all platforms, we do not believe that the proposed transaction will negatively impact consumers. The third response came from a CEO of an indie developer who has worked with most of the top game publishers, including Sony, Microsoft, Activision. They claimed that Microsoft has always honored its contracts and obligations in the 25 years they've dealt with the company, and noted that Chinese company Tencent was already an investor in Activision. If Microsoft is prevented from acquiring Activision, would the UK consumers be better served if they were acquired by Tencent instead? They asked, suggesting that Tencent would be less subject to Western regulation should it try to acquire the publisher.
Boom. Roasted.
The fourth anonymous response came from a developer and publisher of AAA titles whose games are distributed on all major consoles, and stated that it is difficult to predict the exact effects of the acquisition due to the complexity of the acquisition. We do not, however, expect any significant impact of the merger on our company nor distribution of our own products, it said, adding, in particular, we do not expect the merger to pose any risks to the distribution of our own games on Xbox or other consoles. The fifth reply came from a business who claims to release its games on various platforms, including Xbox and PlayStation. On PlayStation, we found our sales growing stagnant with each release. This is mainly due to the fact that despite PlayStation having a lion's share of the players' numbers in console sales, that share is mainly provided to larger titles from huge publishing labels and or developers and publishers who are willing to spend lots of money on paid marketing within the PlayStation console. On Xbox, the opposite has come true over the last several years. There are numerous means of players finding your game on Xbox, including in special sections in the store and throughout the game and through the Game Pass service. As a result, we found that despite Xbox having much smaller player numbers on console sales than PlayStation, our games just sell well on Xbox since more players are finding our games there. It concluded the acquisition will not all of a sudden make Xbox the dominant platform. It's far more likely that it will help create a more level playing field between Xbox and PlayStation, which at this point in time is sorely needed. PlayStation needs more competition to force the platform to up its game, and this will surely do it. And the final response, anonymous response said, honestly found that the arguments against this acquisition were being slightly exaggerated and out of proportion. We are worried that the actual real competition and more innovative consumer friendly initiatives could be potentially hindered by blocking this. By potential market leaders, competitors who might not be ready to believe in a different strategy or just not be compelled to change their status quo in the market. So they're clearly talking about Sony there. I talked a lot. Bacon, you had a lot of you wanted to say about this. I really like that one about how games do better on Xbox. From all this, you guys, how, how can they block this? Like, I'm not hearing any arguments saying it's going to be bad. Xbox is already saying they're going to keep Call of Duty on PlayStation. Like, what else can Sony want? They just
with
don't
the
want this to happen.
with as much as I've not liked the CMA in this process, one thing I can say about the CMA is they have been incredibly transparent. They posted all the numbers of the emails from the consumers who wrote in, and it was overwhelmingly positive. And this is all exculpatory evidence. So this leads me to believe that there's no ulterior motive with the CMA. If they're willing to post this stuff for public consumption, that 6 companies have openly said that deal with the business who are in the UK who are trying to distribute games on platforms. And all 6 of them could have said, well, yeah, no, this is bad. We should not allow this to happen. But knowing that it's not an issue, and they're all forthright enough to come out, and not all of them are named, of course, probably because of backlash if they did name themselves. But the CMA
And
has
NDAs maybe too.
maybe, yeah. But with the CMA being, forthright and giving exculpatory evidence to everybody to read is really refreshing. This is probably the best article I've read on this whole situation through this entire ordeal. Hearing it from people who are in this business who could very well be affected, whose sales could go down if Call of Duty is exclusive here, exclusive there. But the thing I heard about the indie developers not getting their time in the spotlight on PlayStation, was it 2 years ago or something like that, when all this started coming out, that the PlayStation 4 was formed and bred on the back of indies, while Xbox had a bunch of banger exclusive, or the PS4. And then they've kind of went away from giving the indies their flowers, and now they're forced to come over to Xbox, where we're like, we'll just take any game after Square and then completely leaving us out of the system. So I really love this article, and if you got a chance to read the entire thing, there's so much good information in here. Actually, Dan just hit most of it. Actually, he's quite the reader, this one.
He's literate.
I don't see how I don't see how they could ever block this thing in a million years. They're going to get everything they can from Microsoft. It's going to move forward. You're going to get Diablo. I assume Activision, for the most part, is going to stay third party. It's going to stay basically,
yeah.
Yes, it's going to stay
Status
everywhere.
quo continues. Microsoft gets the money.
Maybe the new Tony Hawk, or maybe the new Crash, or the new Spyro, or whatever.
Dude, I don't even
Spyro.
care. Like, I don't even care if they're exclusive.
don't
Activision has never been like, you're the big Activision guy. I couldn't care less about Activision and their IPs, but I did want to say, go ahead, Bacon.
I just want to get achievements in StarCraft. Have Xbox achievements for StarCraft 2. It came
I mean,
played
of
like
course,
9 times.
I would love to have Diablo and Game Pass. I don't think that's going to happen, but not this next one, but maybe future titles. obviously. But I did want to say we kind of already talked about this before I throw it to Jose. We did watch, got a shout out Destin Legary and his interview with, what is it, Michael Pachter? Is
Pactor.
that his name?
Mhm.
I had my own problems with that interview because I felt like he was so informed on some things, and some I'm like, dude, you are way off. Like, what are you talking about? But at the same time, at least we got our answer. We asked last week what would happen if the CMA blocks it. And he's like, well, then he basically said, as if everyone else blocks it, Microsoft would then just have to set up like its own separate entity, right, Jose, of like
Mhm.
Activision Blizzard King Europe, and then they would have to deal with how they are going to distribute the games over there, but
Mhm.
keeping it the same until like they, whoever has to approve it. So throw that into there, Jose, along with some of the comments that we heard here in this article.
I mean, I honestly don't have a lot to add. I do appreciate what Bacon said, that I like the transparency element of this. I will be honest with you. I feel if the deal was a lot more controversial in terms of its final ruling, I don't know if they would be as transparent. The way that I'm understanding this is that they're putting more stuff out that looks like it's leaning that way, because eventually if that go that way, they're like, look, we showed you why. Like, this is why this decision was made. It's not backdoor deals. It's not Microsoft buying us off. It's just like, look, we don't really find what the claim was, that this was going to be really for bad for consumers, is not really real anymore. Um, the one thing I will also add that they've touched on, the only other thing I'll add is I do really appreciate the fact that even though the Series X and Series S are built for pushing really beautiful, gorgeous, hard running games, that they also run just as well for easy, small indie games. Like, I think that point that was made in here that said, like, as a developer, it's easy to say we should develop for PlayStation because they sell the most units. But the truth is, in the PlayStation store or at like GameStop or Target or whatever, what are the odds that your game is going to outshine like a God of War, a Gran Turismo? You know what I'm saying? If it's truly a small game, you have to have a platform for people to find that. And Microsoft really has leaned into that with Game Pass specifically. A great example from my last year was Turnip Boy Commits Tax Evasion. Awesome game. I had a great time playing. It was so much fun. Would I ever have bought that in the store? Not a chance, right? And it's not even a money thing. I absolutely could afford it, right? Just in going there, I would not pick that over other titles that are in the way. But to see it somewhere where it's like, "Oh, I'll pick this up for the weekend. It sounds fun, right?" Oh, this was an awesome little banger. I'm great. Like, that is the magical side of this that I hope really helps propel things forward. And granted, I'm not as big into Activision, or I haven't been historically, but I would love to get into it more. I'd love to play Overwatch competitively a little bit. I'd love to get into the Diablo stuff. I agree with you, Dan, that Diablo 4 probably isn't going to be on there right away, but it will be eventually. I assure you it'll be there eventually. You know what I'm saying? Especially as some of the DLCs and stuff come out, because that would be a really smart move for Microsoft, right? Like, to say, hey, the new DLC that you have to pay if you're somewhere else, you get it free on Game Pass. Join us Game Pass, right? Like, it's not
The
as
only problem with that
expensive.
is they don't put usually DLCs, even for like Forza or other
Right.
games,
They don't put
on
them
the Game Pass.
yet. They don't put them yet. All right, I'm done, man.
You
All
dog.
right, guys, let's go to the last story for the week, and this is just gonna be real quick. And this time it couldn't be any better. Um, Coming to Game Pass April 12th, we've got Ghostwire Tokyo. I am pumped. I cannot wait to play this.
Yeah.
I've waited. I'm not, obviously wasn't going to play it on PlayStation because I knew it was coming on Xbox, specifically Game Pass. In a flash, nearly everything living human in Tokyo disappears as a menacing fog creeps in. As Akito, a lone survival in this supernatural catastrophe, it's up to you to team up with an unlikely ally, the spirit of a detective known only as KK. With the power to combat the otherworldly visitors taking over the city, it's up to just you two to save the world of the living in Ghostwire Tokyo. Again, this is coming April 12th for Xbox Series XS, Game Pass, Windows, PC Game Pass, and it will also be coming with the Spiders Thread update, adding a multitude of enhancements to the single player, including new areas to explore, new story cutscenes, quality of life improvements, and a bonus game mode and more. Guys, I cannot wait. The timing is perfect because we've got Resident Evil 4 coming up, Jose. Then in April, I'm going to be able to play some Ghostwire. And then in May, we've got Redfall. And then June, we've got Diablo. It's too much. I can't take this. This is crazy. This is crazy. So, guys, any reactions to Ghostwire? And will you be playing it? And then let's move on.
Go ahead, Bacon.
The addition of that roguelite game type with the 30 levels, and that's my kind of game. I love those things. So just trying to get as far as you can. I'm not sure what it's going to be, but it sounds like it's going to be a blast. It's awesome that we're getting the complete edition of this game, and it's coming to Game Pass. And I know they're adding ray tracing to this and Forza and something else for us PC guys. So I am pretty stoked about where the PC platform is.
Yeah, well,
Jose.
that's you guys, just a forewarning there. The only way you can enjoy PC or ray tracing and high frame rates is if you've got a 4090 like Bacon. So yeah, keep dreaming for all of us console plebs over there. Jose, closing thoughts on Ghostwire Tokyo.
I'm just pumped to play, man. I was pumped way back when it came out and was bummed that it was PlayStation only. And honestly, it's gotten really great reviews and stuff like that. But like Bacon
Yeah.
said, it's great that it's going to have all the kind of bugs and stuff already ironed out, so that we just get to pick it up and play. And honestly, like, it'll be a perfect segue for me, like Dan said, because I definitely am pick up RE4. I the hard part is I still want to play Jedi in there too, but that'll come after this, I
Oh yeah,
guess.
I
So
forgot.
like,
That's after. Yeah, still
so
great timing.
it is. So
And
I'll do.
Sifu.
I don't know about Sifu for me, but
Yeah,
I
I
definitely
don't
will pick
really,
this
I
up.
don't
I'll
feel like
definitely
Sifu
do
either.
Jedi. I'll definitely do this. So I'm excited, man. It's good times.
All right, guys, let's jump into what have we been playing for the week. We talked about what we've been watching. We did this Last of Us spoiler cast. I don't think we have to talk too much more about that. Very quickly, Jose, I beat the Modern Warfare 2 campaign. I think I told you that. I
Yep.
enjoyed it thoroughly. My ranking of COD campaigns, I still think the original Modern Warfare was just so groundbreaking when that came out. And yeah, I would even throw in like the first reboot Modern Warfare. You can tie them together as being my favorite. And then a lot of people didn't like it, the World War II campaign, but I thought that was really powerful because they did a great job showing some of the Holocaust stuff in there at the end, and it played like the Saving Private Ryan, very underrated. Also had what's his face as the main character, the actor. I can't
Tom
remember.
Hanks.
No, Josh
Uh,
Duhamel.
yeah,
He was
from
one of the main.
Transformers.
Yeah,
He was
Josh
one of the
Jamel.
Dumel.
Callisto
Also from
Protocol, bud.
Callisto Protocol. Yes, he was in that as well. I thought Bacon. I thought the graphics on that game were incredible. I remember that
Yep.
came out. That was 2017 because that came out when the Series X came out, and I was like blown away at the graphics. Underrated, guys, as far as COD campaigns go. And then I would say this Modern Warfare 2 would probably be third for me. I enjoyed it. Bacon, I actually really appreciated the stealth stuff, but I know that's not the stuff you liked. I like that it wasn't too over the top, except for that where you're hanging on upside down in the helicopter part. That was, and the whole Uncharted sequence that they had there. But I enjoyed it, so I recommend it if this game's ever cheap though. Like it's
Game
not like,
Pass.
yeah, well,
It's gonna be
it's
Game
I,
Pass.
who knows if it's ever going to make it to Game Pass, but I do want to say what I also appreciated about Bacon is it didn't overstay its welcome. Like it took me like a few nights, and that was even on veteran. I also want to shout out the veteran difficulty, not as hard as some of the other ones which were out of control. So shout out to Modern Warfare 2, and then I think so. I think I've told you my plan, so I'm going to play Resident Evil next. But in this in between time, Jose, I've been playing some Skyrim. I think I'm diving
Oh,
back
you went
in. I'm
back
gonna
in. You
dig
went back in.
away at my PC file and I'm gonna play some Skyrim. I thought about playing Bloodborne or Uncharted or The Last of Us Part 2, but I'm like, I can't start one of those or Sekiro even. I'm like, I'm still not ready. I just beat Wolong. I don't want to jump directly into another, Souls like. So I'm like, I need something else. So got a shout out Call of Duty. It's been perfect. And man, when I'm exploring in Skyrim, Bacon, I don't know how this game doesn't grab you. Like it's crazy, man. It's so cool. The exploration still hits every time I jump in there. So Bacon, go ahead. What have you been playing?
I officially tapped out of Wulong.
No, I was just gonna
I'm
join you.
not good.
Go
I'm
off. I will
bad.
help
I'm
you.
stuck on the General of Heaven, I believe it was, and
Yep.
my
The cheek
teammate is
clapper.
awful. He is completely useless. I'm not disparaging the game in any way. I think it's a good game. If you're good enough to play the game, then play the game. I will never say anything bad about Wulong. It's just maybe I'll keep trying. I also started Dynasty, or what is it? The Warrior game that came out last month.
Dynasty Warrior 3, right?
Yeah. That game is sneaky awesome. It's the closest you'll come to Doom without being in Doom. It
Oh,
plays
Shadow
like Doom.
Warrior.
Shadow Warrior. Shadow Warrior. That's
Right.
the one.
That's right.
It is the closest thing you'll play to Doom you'll ever find. It is absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, I hear those
It's
games are good
hilarious.
fun. I think
Bacon,
Bogus
or I mean, a
likes
Bacon.
it.
Bogus really liked it. Is what
Yeah,
he's
he likes it. Yeah.
Incredible. I love that game. Just the little one-liners, the jokes, and you literally ripping things apart like you do in Doom. It's almost like a cheap rip off of Doom, but it's not. It's freaking awesome. So if you guys get a chance, go ahead and play that. And then sitting around after I was mad at Wulong one evening, and after we talked the week prior to Dead Space, I decided to play Dead Space 2 in back compat with auto HDR, 60 frames a second on the Xbox. And I sneaky am becoming a Dead Space simp, and I never
it's so
thought this would
good.
happen. It is very good. This one, 2 seems a little more creepy than 1 was. I find myself a little more creeped out occasionally, especially that daycare level with all
Pretty
the kids' noises
disturbing.
and
I
stuff.
I
Yeah.
still think 1 was way
Oh,
scary.
there's
Did you
a scene
really?
at the
What?
very end, Bacon, that we'll chat once you get there. Ooh,
So
I'll
I
never
think I'm
forget
on
it.
the Ishimura
Great
now and I'm about
games.
to get off it. So I feel like I'm getting close to the end, but it has been a good ride.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna play 3 eventually, even though I've
Yeah.
been told not to, but
No, I'm telling you, you should play it. Don't listen to
okay.
Dan.
So
You're gonna
those are
hate
what
it.
I've been playing. I'll try to go back to Wulong. I can't make any promises. I'm just bad at it. It's just the same thing as
Yeah,
Sekiro. I've had to stop that too.
well,
I'm
yeah,
just
but if it's not fun, then don't play it. Nobody's forcing you. Like you play what you want to have fun in. Gosh, that's why I'm playing Skyrim right now. By the way, Bogus, if you're listening, I got 1,000 out of 1,000 on Wolong. So just I don't think I tweeted that or you saw that tweet. So shout out
Well, he
Bogus,
got a
1,000
million
out of
out of a
1,000.
million on Elden Ring, so don't worry about it.
Yeah, that's true. Go ahead, Jose. What have you been playing?
Real quick before I talk about that, I do want to mention it was in our show notes and it was a real recent. They released a story trailer for Redfall today. You should check it out. It's pretty dope. I watched it.
Yeah, I should have. I
It
watched it
looks
too. I
real
can't
good. It
wait. I
looks
can't
better
wait
than
for
I thought,
Redfall.
and so you get to see some more gameplay with the guns, where we were kind
Can't
of
wait.
concerned about reticles and stuff. But man, I'm excited. I can't wait for Redfall. What have I been playing? I've been playing Wulong, and I've been kind of tempted to give up a few times, but I haven't. I've really enjoyed it a lot. Like Bacon said, I am just about to get to the guy who Dan calls cancer. What's his name?
Lubu.
Lubu. I saw him in a cutscene. He is for
Oh
sure
no.
my next villain.
Oh no.
So I'm right there. And if it goes real bad, I might have to tap out. But I'm gonna give it real good try, especially got spring break coming up. Like if I can get past him, then I think I'm good for the rest of the game, which will be exciting. But I've had a great time, man. I still don't understand the story. The cutscenes are really cool, but I
Yeah,
don't.
they look
It's like a
fun.
psychedelic trip where just I don't understand what's happening. Um, that's been really fun though, and of course, still popping into Halo every once in a while with the boys when they're on that kind of stuff. But other than that, just playing Wulong, and yeah, man, it's gonna be a good couple of weeks coming up. I also have been watching. Hopefully, you guys watched too. Episode 1 of Ted Lasso season 3 came out.
I haven't seen it
Man,
yet, but I
I just
will.
love that show. I know
it's
Dan's a
great.
little bit
I
lukewarm on
know
it.
I like it. I don't think it's this top tier, but it's good. It's just a feel good show. I agree, but
I enjoy it, man. It was
sometimes it's
good.
a little.
There's a lot of poop in this first one that I'm
Okay.
real excited about
I'm
for
a
the
real
rest of the
bad
season.
coach.
Yeah.
How bad of a coach are you?
Yeah.
So good.
I think that's good. All right, guys, we're gonna close the show like we always do with the best food we had this week. Chipotle Bear, why don't you go first this week? What was the best food you had?
So two things. A couple of days ago was Pi Day, right? Shout out to Nell if she's still listening. As math, it's for math thing is Pi Day 314, and we weren't planning on going out actually, but Victoria wasn't feeling well, and I had a last minute meeting after work and stuff, and so sure enough, Perry's Pizza. Dan and I have talked about them a couple times with their New York Yankee, which is or New Mexican
Ooh,
Yankee,
that
delightful pizza.
so good.
But they had a deal on Pi Day where you could get a pizza for $3.14, and then toppings were like $1.50. Yeah, there goes now. Happy Pi Day. So for literally $5, we each got a personal pizza from Perry's, which was awesome because my wife's friend Claire's in town, so everybody got what they wanted. That was really great this week. And then also last night, we hadn't been there in a while. We went to Bad Daddy's Burger at Southwest Plaza, and I got the Philly cheesesteak burger. Delightful, absolutely wonderful. I love Philly cheesesteaks, and it was a good dinner. So that is the best food that I had this week, man.
And I'll go next, Bacon. The best food I had this week. You know what? I was driving back from basketball. By the way, got a Bacon balled out. I think I told you this. 30 points. I think that's the most points I've ever had in a game. I was, dude, you would have been
Shake and
so
bake.
proud. Dude, you would have been so proud, Bacon. It wasn't just like threes. I had like 3 or 4 threes, made my free throws, had a couple drives, putbacks, rebounds, mid range. It was just the game of my life. I still managed to not be the leading scorer. And it pissed me off because every time I drive Bacon, I would kick it to this one guy, made every single three he took. I guess he made 10 of them. He was the leading scorer. He had 38. And I was like, of course, I can't even be the leading scorer. And I've never scored this much in my life. But a great basketball game. Heading back, and I'm like, I want some Chipotle. Got to have that victory meal. and then I'm driving back. Of course, I can't go to the one off of South, the one that Jose goes to off of Wadsworth. I can't do that one. They always disappoint me. They're always out of stuff. There's always a wait. I'm like, I'm not going to that cocktail place.
You
So I
got to
go to
call
the
ahead,
one.
bud. That's the
No,
only way to go.
no, and it's don't even get me started on the call ahead orders because I hate that too. I go to the one on Union. I'm right first in line. Nobody's there. All of a sudden, what do they do in front of me? Put in like 6 or 7 stupid online orders. I'm just standing there for 5 minutes while they're making the food.
You should have put in
for
the
these
order when you left your game,
and
bud.
I'm no,
You
I am
problem.
physically in the store. We live in a society, Jose. You serve the customer who is there first. I'm tired of these online orders. Anyway, so I'm pissed off. I'm sitting there literally for 5 to 10 minutes. Be like, what? Do I not exist, you guys? They finally get to me. Then they mess up like getting my reward stuff. And I was just like, are you serious? And she's like, what did you get again? I was like, are you freaking out? I get home and I bite into this burrito. And I'm like, those sons of guns, they just make the best freaking burrito over there. And that's why I keep going back. It was incredible. My burrito, you guys, was so dang good with the queso. I loved it. So shout out to Chipotle. The one on Union and 6th Avenue, you guys, I think it's one of the best in Colorado. I'm
Yeah,
not even just saying
I've
that.
been there.
It is consistently solid every time I go, and they never disappoint. And then another shout out. We had swimming lessons tonight, Jose. I also made a run to Costco while they were there. I got a couple of hot dogs and a churro.
You have something in your throat?
Guys, I gotta say that hot dog, the $150 hot dog at Costco.
Amazing.
I love to put a bunch of stuff on my hot dog, right? I love all the condiments. I put some ketchup, some mustard, some onions, some relish. I love to do it all. Just eating that raw dog plain hot dog, man, it is so good. I'm not a fan of just plain hot dogs. I was like, this is so good. So I have to shout out that Kirkland signature hot dog at Costco. Bacon, what was the best food you had this week?
Well, feeding off the Pi Day theme, we had to buy a bunch of cookies for all her little kiddos the other day, and I'm still trying to figure out how to get that expense report approved to get that refunded. But I had some of my wife's world famous tuna noodle casserole this evening before the show, and it's basically all I can
That sounds
remember from my
delicious.
week of awesome food. So I'll get you later on that expense report there, Chapo. All
Fair
right.
enough. You can send it to my boss.
Gentlemen, this has been the Nerd Chat episode 98. Thank you so much for all of our fans who dropped in. Shout out to Nell for hanging around the whole show. Shout out to Goose and B and Deja Vu. We really do appreciate all of it. Please, if anyone's out there listening or watching, hit that subscribe button on YouTube. We're so close to 100. It would mean so much to us. My name is Daddy D Wally. You can follow me at Daddy D Wally across all social media. You can follow the show at the Nerd Chat on all social media. Chipotle Bear, where can people find you?
You can find me on Instagram, Chipotle Bear, on Twitter, Chipotle_Bear. Shout out to everybody that's been a really great community there. Shout out to the 6-1 Indie Cast. They have their big show coming up with K-Step on there, Mr. K-Step. So, go support that community. Matthew Kennedy's been doing a lot of great stuff with Twitch. Shout out to the Trophy Room, all those guys at that Podcast Unlocked, all that stuff. So, in addition to that, just everybody hope you have a great week, man. Excited for vacation coming up.
And Bacon, where can people find you?
You can find me on all your socials, X Bacon Gaming. Thank you guys for taking the time to watch, in the chat, share it out, send it to friends. We appreciate your time. And it's like Dan ate all of his peeps in one sitting.
As always, peeps lovers, see you online.
See you online.
See you online.
See you online.
It's okay, baby girl. I got you. I got you. The Nerd Chat, an Xbox podcast, is a podcast celebrating all things gaming, food, and the good old days. The show was created by Daniel Walenzik, and you can follow him at Daddy D Wally across all social media. The assistant to the co-host is Jose Martinez, and you can follow him at Chipotle_Bear. The assistant to the co-host is Chance Siegel, and you can follow him at BubbleBoyN7. The intern to the assistant to the co-hosts is Jason Jarrett, and you can follow him at XBaconGaming. You can also follow the show at the Nerd Chat across all social media. And if you'd like to find out more about the show, visit nerdchatmedia.com.